it's important. Even talks like conversations with about money. These are all things that kind of you know, like some people are taught it from early. Some people are taught certain things. Some people just, you know what I mean, it's different in it. But I think as you grow up, you learn. But even just that aside from money talk, I think even just there's a lot of things that, you know, when growing up, yeah, we didn't really. I won't say we didn't really understand in depth because we weren't really taught it. Like, and the reason why I wanted you to come on, even stuff like you know, men, like, yeah, I know, like, right now, okay, cool, we're in a space where a lot of us are talking about mental health, men, women, but even just, like, physical health as well.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
more so in regards to, like, stuff with fertility, because for the longest time, I think, I'm not saying this is true, I think there's been this kind of narrative, like, when it comes to, like, infertility, you look at the woman straight away.
Yeah.
But the guy, like,
Yeah.
because it's always cool. And for me personally, the reason why I used to think that is because I didn't really hear much about, like, I just thought, okay, guys, the only thing we got to make sure is we make sure we don't wear briefs.
Yeah,
because
briefs,
they used to, no one used to say, oh,
Yeah,
if you wear briefs, apparently, like, it tightens your testes.
the
So it's like,
circulation.
so, and I don't even know that was a myth or not, but from the minute I heard that, I stopped wearing briefs.
Yeah,
Usually,
no, I just stopped wearing briefs because
Where
everyone
did you
used
read
to
that
be.
from?
Huh?
Where did you read that from?
I don't even know. I think I was just like, you know, okay, nah, because in school we always had this thing, okay, nah, like,
Well, it was frowned upon.
Yeah.
That was another thing. It was kind of frowned upon to wear briefs. Like people were like, what, you wear briefs?
yeah, it's kind of
It
like,
seemed a bit childish. Obviously, there was notion that it was
briefs were like, it was a bit mad because
uncool.
I think, like, yeah, I don't, well, not that I know people, I don't think, would I say that out of fashion? I don't know, innit? Some people might still wear briefs,
No,
but
yeah, you shouldn't.
But I think, yeah, like, but for me, the reason why I was like, I just went in blindly. I was like, okay, no, I've been told that, you know, if you wear briefs, it tightens it basically reduces circulation, basically.
Yeah.
And therefore, that will affect your testicles. And therefore, so, okay, I've got to start wearing loose boxers.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when I started wearing loose boxers.
Yeah.
And even in school, they used to be like, oh, no, if you get kicked don't kick someone in the balls. All that, you know, all that kind of stuff.
But that was normal, innit? People would do that all the time.
Yeah. But I do feel like the argument of box versus briefs, I don't know if it's scientifically proven, but it's just like a
I think so.
like
I've even seen it on TV as well.
Do you know what I mean? And back then, yeah, maybe like we didn't understand all these things, how these things can cause infertility. But even stuff like, even as I've learned more, like, even like, it's not even a thing of like, because did you know, yeah, like, what it is, I think one of the biggest myths is that, when it comes to fertility is about your age. But when I've researched it, apparently with men, yes, probably men can probably have kids later, as in their 40s.
Yeah.
Probably some people in their 60s. The guy from Rolling Stones, I think one of the, what's his name, Ronnie Wood, he had twins at 66.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
Like, I think that proves, okay, people can still have kids later, innit? But the only thing with when it comes to that and fertility, as you get older or reach a certain age, I feel like the quality of your the quality of your sperm is not necessarily the same. It kind of declines, isn't it?
Yeah.
So therefore, it will still make it harder for someone to, like, if someone in their 50s, they want a man in their 50s wants to procreate with his wife, it still make it harder. So what I'm trying to say is that sometimes I feel like there's been too much focus on, it's always the woman. If a woman gets a certain age, the clock's ticking. Like,
yeah, that's still predominantly the case, though, isn't it? Just because of the because remember, because I remember I saw on TV, like, some women can go on, for example, they can experience menopause as early as like 27 or 24 or something like that.
But that's like rare cases, though.
Yeah, but obviously menopause can stop you from having kids, innit? So I think the women's body clock and the way their body work, just in general,
but I think
naturally puts them at a disadvantage.
True, but what I'm trying to say is that I feel like it's no longer argument of, it's just the women. It's
both
sides.
For sure.
So, like, even just like when it comes to the procreation, you just think, okay, cool. I need to make sure, like, it's mad because I always had the thing, okay, cool. So long as, so you can like ejaculate, that's calm.
Yeah.
Nah, bro. Just because you can shoot doesn't mean you're hitting the target.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It, yeah.
But it's like, okay, cool. Like, you think, okay, I must be fine then, but it's not about that. Obviously, it's deeper than just being able to, you know,
Yeah.
make it calm. I'm trying to say
Yeah.
it's different, and I feel like, and there's so many different factors that contribute to that.
Stress.
Like, yeah, they say stress, drinking,
anxiety, depression.
Yeah. No, what did they say? Like being exposed to certain toxins, things like that. Another one,
certain foods, or
I think diet can have a
Diet
that
as
can
well,
have a part to
yeah.
play. If you're like an excessive smoker, but obviously these things are not, because I feel like there can be people whose lifestyle is crazy, but they're still able to like they're still
Yeah.
shooting them out.
Yeah, that's it.
But obviously it's not. I don't think it's a one size fits all. But generally, like you should kind of, if you are thinking, well, not necessarily me or you because you've got kids, but yeah, maybe, yeah, I don't know. It can still apply to us because you might want to have more at some point. We might want to have kids at some point. But I feel like just kind of like think about your lifestyle and then, because everything, your lifestyle will affect, obviously, like in terms of reproduction, depending if you're living a mad lifestyle where you're just like doing whatever, drinking whatever, smoking whatever, that's gonna affect you somehow. So I feel like when it comes to fertility, to put yourself in the best position, like look after yourself.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's the thing. I think, it's one of those double-edged sword. I think we're so we've come so far in terms of like scientific development and technological development in terms of ways we can try and prevent, these things from happening. But at the same time, the body has its mind of itself,
Yeah.
You just have to, like they say, you just got to treat it like a temple, because anything can happen. Some people think, oh, they can live the reckless lifestyle, and next thing you know, they're 50, 60, and
yeah.
It could be like a stroke, it could be a heart attack, you could get cancer, because the life expectancy has moved on. Whereas back in the days, it used to be what, 50, 60. Now people are living up to what is it, 80, 90.
Yeah.
That's like in countries in like Japan or those Eastern countries. Like they have a really good diet.
But you know what I think that is as well? Like, like sometimes, because I watch a lot of anime, and then like there's always like a lot of focus around like chakra and meditation and how everything's linked. Whereas I think over here in the Western world, we don't really take that into consideration. They seem like all the herbal remedies and the clean eating and sort of things. We just take things for granted just because we have excess.
Yeah, and
we have a lot of access to food. So we overindulge. Whereas sometimes when you think maybe the population, for example, like in China, it's mad high. I don't know.
Isn't it? No, it's just, you say it's mad high. But I
yeah,
don't know
compared to
high,
is it like a couple billion? Is it a billion? I'm not too sure exactly.
So that's why.
But I don't know what the ration. I don't know how that corresponds to the amount of food they have to support that country.
That's probably why they have that. Well, not probably why, but I'm thinking, I'm making a strong guess as to why they say in China that there's like a 1-kid policy.
Oh, they've made it 2 now. But that was just because
it's it was overpopulation.
No, because a lot of men couldn't get married.
Wait, so they made so it was 2 kids because men.
Yeah, because I think if you only could have 1 kid, see, a lot of kids were getting killed, or getting aborted. Sorry, so not killed. So, for example, like let's say if you only could have 1 child, as a man, and obviously from a Chinese culture, I think, if I'm not wrong, you would prefer to have a son, obviously, because then your name lives on. So those people were having daughters, and they thought, okay, well, the family name no longer passes, because if she gets married, and someone takes the name, then there is no Jackson anymore. There's no family line, because as soon as you have a daughter, then that's gone. If you only can have 1 child, so a lot of people say, oh, what, they used to find out the sex, and they found, what is it? Oh, it's a girl. Okay, no, we don't want a girl. We want a boy. Then you try again, and then you try again. And now I think it's like it got to the point like, well, there's more men than there are women. So there aren't a lot of matches. So a lot of guys now are dying alone. And people are being buried with like friends and stuff, sharing things, because so it's a bit. It just goes to show you. It's crazy.
Even with that, I was gonna say like something, because sometimes like with what you said about in China, like the man carries the name.
Yeah.
But even down to like usually when someone usually finds out they're pregnant, as in the guy. I'm not saying for all. Some people are like, I want a boy first.
Yeah.
It's kind of like for you, obviously you've got a son. Do you feel like it's that? what do you? How can I put it? Do you think that ties to some sort of like pride? You know, I've got a boy. Like it's two things. Like okay, I'm a man. I've got a boy, so therefore my name is gonna carry on. But it's also a thing of I'm a man. I've created life, so that makes me manly. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes I feel like, well, for those who want to have kids anyway, like being able to procreate is like, it's kind of like I'm not saying this is the case, but it's kind of like a sign of like masculinity. Like that's what's rooted in like being a man, being able to like leave legacy.
Yeah.
Of course, there's different ways of doing that, but just when we think of it in terms of like on a societal level, it's like, I'm a man because I can do that, and I feel like when that kind of that ability becomes an inability, it's almost like it's gonna affect you mentally. Like it's gonna, and like I was saying, I don't think a lot of people talk about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because it's tough. It's not something you want to think about. It's like I said. So because I tell you a story. So I don't know how old I was. I was probably 10, 11, on a hill, just riding around. I'm with my friend, and we're speeding down a hill. Okay, we're speeding down a hill, and it's like in one of those films where like at the end there's like only one alley that only one person can go through. Yeah, so whoever gets there first wins. If you come second, obviously you're gonna crash.
Yeah.
But anyway, we don't care. You don't get it.
You know, I play a dangerous game, but I was thinking, story sounds bad already.
Caution.
Yeah, so
I was like,
you're young, innit? You're bored. So you're moving reckless. Cut the long story short, he gets through. I go into a car. Yeah.
Well, as in you're the front.
Yeah. So my friend, he got through before me. Obviously, we was close, innit, neck and neck. But then he squeezed through, and then I crashed into a car, innit? Obviously, at the point at the time, it's like, oh shit, I hurt myself and whatnot. And then what happened after that? I think obviously I came off the bike and I was walking in a bit, and then I saw some blood. So I quickly ran home because I was close. Well, I ran to my aunt's.
Yeah.
Went to the toilet, checked myself, split my ball sack, bleeding.
Hey.
I was like, and I'm just mad panicking. So I'm thinking, oh shit, what am I gonna do? I'm cleaning up. Then I think I just went home. Went home. Just kind of left it. Just cleaned it up and went home. And then obviously it was getting bad. And I think did I faint? I think I might have actually fainted. And then my mum called the ambulance.
How old was you when this happened?
Probably like 10, 11, 12. So obviously not even sexually active at that point.
Yeah.
Obviously had to have stitches and whatnot. And then fast forward, let's say a couple of years, I'm more sexually active now, and I'm not slipping one past the goalie. And I'm thinking, it's a bit crazy because obviously at times again I was still being a bit reckless. Weren't always strapping up. I was thinking, can I even have kids? Because it was always in the back of my mind. You know what I mean? Like, hold on, there's no close calls here. What? So then obviously I had to get checked. But obviously, I didn't get checked until probably like I was 18 this time. So
when you say check, as in, was that what do they call it? Like a sperm?
Yeah, like a sperm count, isn't it? So
sperm quality count. Whatever.
Yeah. So obviously, I got referred to like through my GP at the time. At that time, I used to go not often, but it probably coincided when my dad passed. To be fair, around those times. No, that was prior to that. But no, so I did go. So I used to go every now and then just because you got like the odd reminder. Got a check. We done it. It took like probably up to a week before I got the results. Everything was blessed. All right, cool. Fine. But the moment where you're waiting is probably the most difficult part. Because you're thinking, what are they going to come back with? If I can't have kids, what am I going to do? Do I want to adopt? Would I foster? And it's like, it gets a bit mad. Then you think, okay, but then that's one thing. Is like, okay, well, how do I then broach it talking to a potential prospect as a spouse or a partner? Oh yeah, how do you have that conversation? When do you have that conversation?
That's it.
And plus not having like any role models or people that you can talk to, because back then no one really spoke about anything. So you couldn't openly come out and say, if that was to be the case, you couldn't openly come out and say, I'm firing blanks. People were like, what do you mean you're firing blanks?
Yeah,
and people probably be laughing at you like, do you know what I mean? Because back then it would have been one of those things like far removed to our actual life at that point. So yeah, it's very daunting, man. And obviously, again, naturally, people don't check because you just assume. And I don't know if we don't check because for the fear of knowing, like they say, some things are better off not knowing, But again, at the same time, if you want to start a family, it's prudent to know first if you actually can.
Yeah. Because even going back to your story, so at 10, obviously the incident happened at 10, and then about 18 is when you went to go check with the doctors. Even that moment when you've made a call, they've done the test, and then so the point of you waiting for the results, because you said, oh, at that point you didn't know, oh, am I gonna have to adopt, and there's so many things going on in your head. But like, how did that make you feel mentally, like in those however long the wait was? But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was just panicking because like, we always tell ourselves, oh yeah, growing up, oh yeah, I want to have X amount of kids.
Yeah.
You always kind of over romanticize the life that you want. But then again,
that's
like
a good one, yeah.
when it gets kind of put on a plate, if it's put on a plate to you, that no, that isn't that. Well, look, to be fair, not at that point, I would have been devastated.
Yeah.
Now looking back, obviously you just have to make do. Then you know what I mean. As you grow older, then you probably know, okay, what are my options?
Yeah.
And you would have kind of hoped for the best. And I would have probably kept it to myself. I probably would have been too scared or ashamed to tell anyone.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, and I feel like, and again, I don't want to go into much or speak heavily, because I feel like I'm not gonna. I don't want to pretend that I know a lot about it. But obviously, we've we've had people on the podcast who've spoken about like the experience of miscarriage.
Yeah.
Like men and women.
Yeah.
And like even though it's a lot common with women, I still not common. I won't say it's common. That's the wrong word to use. Even though miscarriages occur,
yeah,
I still feel like it's like, and it's not like it's a thing, or like it's a novelty. It happens, but
yeah, it's
still like a taboo in it. It's still, people still feel ashamed to talk about, man. But now there's a lot of groups that are in support of that, and trying to open a conversation about that. And I'm not sure how often, or how many, or the level of support out there for men. But I still feel like the reason why, again, don't talk about it is because the stigma in it, attached to it as a man. And that's when I was saying earlier, that's why I feel like, because I ask myself, are we ashamed because we don't feel less of a man, or are we ashamed because it's just something that you just feel sad about? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you see, being a man is difficult, isn't it? In this day and age, there's so much things that you have to contest with. Like, obviously the world in itself is a jungle, isn't it? So you're fighting to find your place in the world financially amongst your peers. You're trying to get a house, whether that's by yourself or with a partner. You're always competing.
Yeah.
So then when all these extra stuff happen, it's just, I think it becomes overwhelming. And sometimes I feel you got to kind of pick and choose what you want to deal with, and then the rest get shrugged aside. Whereas I think now I'm older, I think we have to kind of practice understanding. So, okay, so because a miscarriage, as heartbreaking as it is at the time, is also worth trying to understand why it's happened. Because it could have been like something you've done. It could have been maybe the lifestyle. Obviously, I'm not too sure of the potential causes, but it could have been something within your control, something that you just didn't know of. Something like when you're pregnant, they tell you there's so many things that you can't eat. So, for example, like when my missus was pregnant, at the time you couldn't eat cheese. But now I think you can eat dairy products if it's pasteurized. So now I think every single time you always have to constantly check the guidelines, because they're saying, okay, at one point this isn't allowed, now at this point it is allowed. So the goalpost is always moving. So sometimes you could be eating something that's detrimental but not knowing.
Yeah, but
at one point it was safe, and at this point it's not. So it's quite difficult.
But I think on a, because everyone's going to be subjective. Some people there might be certain things or certain like in terms of our diet, right? I'm talking about diet for this instance. Like I might not eat the same thing you eat. We might be eating healthy things, but it might not be the same. It's different to what your body tolerates, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, and the conversation on like, you know, when it comes to fertility, the best way to promote, you know, to give you the best like fertility, how can I describe it? Just to have a good fertility system. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
But obviously, like I said before earlier, diet comes into play. You know, what you eat and all that kind of stuff, and you know, it's probably best not to be excessively drinking because everything's in moderation. So like, I'm not necessarily saying, well, I don't know, like someone who smokes can't have kids. They might, because they might someone might be bunning smoking cigarettes or weed every, and they're still able to like
that's it.
Procreate, but that doesn't mean that because that person can do it, okay, that's it's different. You have to use your own judgment.
Yeah. Plus, you know, taking smoking again, using that example, you could smoke 10 cigarettes, I could smoke 10 cigarettes, but the effects on me could be different to it is on you.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, it's like you said, isn't it? It's at your own discretion. You know, everything you do has a consequence.
Yeah.
Whether it affects you now or down the line.
Yeah.
It's a lottery.
It's going to affect the lungs, you know.
Yeah,
exactly.
As the years go by, your lung will begin to change.
Yeah, exactly. So,
you know,
yeah, it's completely up to you. You know, everyone has to do what they think. Enjoy your life, like I said, but everything in moderation, and just try to get the balance.
Yeah, and I think, you know what's crazy. Yeah, what you said earlier was really sitting with me. Is like we have to contest, and it's not. I'm not saying it to say, oh, like poor us, like because everyone goes through things, innit, John?
Yeah.
It's not a thing of like who has it worse, you know what I mean? But when you deep in, like, there's so much to contest with, and it's like, yo, sometimes like that can be a lot mentally.
It's a lot. You just got to look at the suicide rates within men. Plus remember, what are we? I think we're 49% in comparison. So obviously we're the lesser dominant sex compared to the female counterparts. So I think they're 51% to us, 49%.
In terms of like
the male female ratio on Earth.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
okay.
I believe there's more women than men.
I thought it was
I'm not.
Yeah, I've heard something like that. I've heard something like that.
I have no.
No.
Yeah, I've heard something like that.
So that was my understanding. But then if we're saying that, you know, I can't remember the exact rates again. In which, you know, men are committing suicide. It's like, okay, well, you have to take into consideration, okay, what are the issues? And those are the issues.
Yeah.
That's the constant, it's the rat race, isn't it? Is trying to find yourself. And then obviously as you get older, you know, if you do manage to make it, then you could be getting finessed, or you're having to contest with you know, trying to find the right woman, someone who's not trying to use you for their own financial gain. It's like there's so many different things what we have to think about. Yeah,
like even like off the whole thing of not talking about it. Like again, because even when like I feel like it should be talked about because it happens. And like, no, earlier I said to you, like I used to think, okay, like. And I say used to think because it's not, obviously I don't think like this now. Like usually it's, men don't in that regard of like when it comes to conceiving, I don't really see it as, obviously it was ignorant of me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know any better. But I used to think, okay, it's like not predominantly women all the time, but okay, sometimes when it comes to like stuff like procreation, yes, it takes two to tango. We've always known that. But when it comes to like fertility, it's never like, oh, it's fertility and men can have XYZ issues too. Always think of fertility, a woman's age, so therefore she can't have.
Yeah.
I mean, so but then it's men too, innit? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Barren. Actually, like exactly. I know someone, like family related, close. Yeah. She's only 29. She's barren. She can't have kids.
Do you know what I mean?
And her partner can have kids. So it's like, okay, what do you do?
It's unfortunate, innit? Do you know what I mean? But I think what I'm trying to get at is that like. Looking at this topic, for me anyway, like I now see it as it's not just a woman's problem. It's because
it's both.
Because someone can be like, oh, yeah, we're having some issues, and deep down, and all this time, it's not even her. The problem's not even her. It's the guy. But because you're sometimes some people are so fixated on, oh yeah, I'm good. No, bro.